The Qingshan sword, once wielded by an ancient immortal venerable, was discarded by a beggar to be sold for a pittance on a humble stall. Even though I purchased it for half a spirit stone, the beggar secretly rejoiced, convinced that I was a complete fool. This was because the Qingshan sword was not only covered in patches of rust, but it was also battered beyond recognition. If it were offered to other cultivators for free, they would be ashamed to even carry it, yet the beggar was oblivious to its true nature. I possess a repair panel, which can not only restore all manner of damaged and broken items, but even a heavenly emperor on the brink of death. I could mend back to perfection without a single flaw. However, at this moment I am merely a spirit farmer, unable to even afford the rent for my spirit fields, and I am forced to grit my teeth and spend 5 repair points. I must repair that fragmented spirit martial technique I bought, along with the sword, before I can consider anything else. As dusk fell, I hurried home beneath the flickering lamplight. No sooner had I entered my room than a violent pounding echoed against the wooden door. Dong dong dong! I rose quickly to peer outside. The main gate was kicked open with such force that dust billowed into the air, while rain and a foul, metallic wind lashed against my face. Boy, are you dead yet? If you're still alive, get out here now. A rough, boorish voice boomed from beyond the door. Entering my home was Wang Ju, a notorious scoundrel of Qingyu Market, who relied on his mid-stage qi refining cultivation to act with reckless arrogance. Master Wang Ju, please forgive my lack of manners. I was in a deep slumber and did not hear the commotion I said, carefully feigning an expression of fear upon my face. Kid, you're still alive? Wang Ju's expression turned unsightly. You still haven't paid last month's rent for the spirit fields. If you don't pay up today, get out of here at once. I have the money, I have it, I said, pulling 2 spirit stones from my robes and handing them over. This is the rent for last month. Master Wang Ju, please, count them for yourself. Wang Ju weighed the spirit stones in his hand, his expression remaining dark and sullen. That was for the rent. This is for your own benefit, I said, quickly taking another spirit stone from my bag and offering it to him respectfully. Seeing the payment, a smile finally appeared on Wang Ju's face. Good, I always knew you were the most sensible one. By the end of the year, I will grant you an extension. Keep working hard, your prospects are limitless. With those words, he swaggered away toward the next room. The tenant residing there was a beautiful female cultivator. A short while later, indescribable sounds began to drift through the wall from the room next door. Filthy mongrels, I cursed silently in my heart. Once I repair a formidable cultivation technique, I will make you regret this. As the courtyard returned to silence, I scrutinized the spirit martial technique and invested my repair points into it. The remaining repair points for the day are 8, sufficient to restore a cultivation technique. I initiate the restoration of the damaged spirit rain art, which costs 5 points. A few minutes later, the complete guidance diagram for the technique manifested within my mind. The spirit rain art has been successfully restored. It is a low-grade technique capable of channeling the winds and rains of heaven and earth to nourish all living things. With the complete version of the spirit rain art now in my possession, I felt a surge of excitement and immediately began to practice. 5 days later, standing before the spirit fields, I lightly formed the hand seals. Several beams of light soared into the sky, and moments later dark clouds gathered and a gentle drizzle began to fall. I precisely controlled the rainfall to nourish the spirit plants, while my own robes remained completely dry. It was a success. Looking at the immortal spirit herbs in the field, now nearing full maturity and valued at over 8 spirit stones, a burning light flickered in my eyes. I had struck it rich this time. Over the next 10 days or so, I devoted myself entirely to cultivating and casting the spell. With the complete spirit rain art providing its enhancement, the yield of my 3 acres of spirit fields surged dramatically, to the point that even the long empty storage shed was filled to capacity. The most pressing matter now is to sell these low-grade spirit crops, and head to the Myriad Laws Pavilion to purchase powerful techniques for self-defense. Thinking is acting. I quickly cleaned myself up and headed out. As soon as I stepped into the Myriad Laws Pavilion, the familiar manager Chen approached to welcome me. Brother Yuan, here again? What would you like to see today? Are you looking to purchase new techniques once more? Manager Chen, this time I wish to sell some low-grade spirit crops. I wonder what your current rates are. Rest assured, Brother Yuan, our establishment is known for high quality at reasonable prices. Manager Chen, who was leading the way, suddenly froze and widened his eyes. Wait, Brother Yuan, you said you wanted to sell spirit crops, not buy them? Indeed. Brother Yuan, isn't your average income barely enough to cover your rent? Manager Chen looked me over with a hint of skepticism. The yield of my spirit fields has increased significantly recently, so I have come to sell some. Manager Chen remained visibly doubtful upon hearing this. Brother Yuan, we typically require a large quantity when purchasing low-grade spirit crops, at least 20 stalks. If you do not have enough, perhaps you should return another time. Is this enough? I reached out and produced over 100 stalks of immortal spirit herb. Enough. That is absolutely enough. Manager Chen could not hide the astonishment in his eyes, and hurriedly called for an assistant to count the items. Shortly after the harvest was complete, I surveyed the contents of my storage bag. Seeing more than 30 spirit stones, my heart surged with ecstasy. To avoid drawing unwanted attention, I took the remaining 200 spirit herbs and sold them in batches across various shops. Eventually, I exhausted every last spirit stone I had earned. I purchased an incomplete manual for the mid-grade Gengjin sword technique and a damaged low-grade magical artifact. Earning money is as difficult as digging for soil with a needle, while spending it flows like water through sand. Upon returning home, I bolted the door and summoned my interface. My name read, xuanhuan. My remaining repair points for the day stood at 16. I could restore 9 points of the incomplete Gengjin sword technique or 18 points of the Guiyun shield. Since the Guiyun shield requires 18 points to repair, 3 times the cost of my spirit feather art, it is undoubtedly a hidden treasure I have stumbled upon. However, I am currently facing the threat of Wangju and urgently need to increase my strength, so I did not hesitate. My gaze fixed upon the sword manual, repair. A moment later, the interface flickered. The Gengjin sword technique had been restored. Its rank is now mid-grade. The description notes it can unleash sword Ji, allowing one to slay enemies from 1,000 paces away. This is excellent. I finally possess a powerful technique for slaughter. Just then, a knocking sound echoed from outside the door. Brother Yuan, are you home? A seductive voice drifted in, stirring the heart. I opened the door with caution to find the female cultivator, Sun Li, dressed in a green immortal gown, her eyes brimming with allure. Fellow Taoist son, is there something you need? Sun Li spoke in a coquettish tone. Brother Yuan, you are truly remarkable. I saw the spirit herbs in your field were all ripe yesterday. Could you sell a few to me at a discount? Knowing she shared a questionable relationship with Wangju, I had no desire to engage further. I responded dismissively, I will gift you 6 spirit herbs then. Sun Li spoke with hidden meaning. I saw you go to the marketplace today to sell over 100 spirit herbs. You truly are a talent. I asked coldly, you dare to follow me? She looked up at me, offering a provocative smile as she stepped closer, a wave of warmth washing over me. Brother Yuan, I admire you. I was not following you. You possess the innate spirit-planting saint body. I only wish to serve you. In such a perilous world of cultivation, why not indulge in some pleasure? I hurriedly handed over the 6 spirit herbs to dismiss her. Leave today. I have urgent matters to attend to. We shall speak another time. Sun Li pouted slightly, accepting the spirit herbs before turning away with obvious reluctance. Brother Yuan, you really are as dense as wood. You understand nothing of romance. Sun Li cast, stepping out through the main gate. Su Li walked with light, measured steps toward the intersection. She knitted her delicate brows, gazing down the 2 paths ahead. To the left lay the road leading inevitably to the estate of the Yang family, while to the right, the path led straight to her own home. Su Li, a mere spirit herb cultivator of mediocre talent, had suddenly produced within the short span of a dozen days, hundreds of stalks of fully matured spiritual herbs. She was undoubtedly harboring a great secret opportunity, even though he had been kind to her, even gifting her spiritual produce in the past. In these chaotic times, personal survival was the only priority, and she could no longer concern herself with the fate of others. Thinking this, Su Li suppressed the guilt in her heart and stomped her foot, preparing to report the secret to the Yang family. But at that very moment, a streak of gang metal sword chi erupted from the shadows, piercing straight through her throat. Su Li let out a wretched cry before collapsing to the ground, blood spraying in all directions. I stepped out from the darkness, looking at her corpse with an indifferent gaze. Confirming there was no one else around, I bent down to inventory her storage bag. I had offered her a choice, but it was a pity she chose the path of death. A moment later, I channeled my spiritual power, following the methods circulated within the market to attempt to open the storage bag. As my faint spiritual energy guided into the pouch, the gold-threaded opening suddenly loosened and quickly sprang wide. Inside was a square space measuring 3 feet in dimension. I emptied the contents onto the wooden table in my room, my heart harboring only one thought. This time I have truly struck it rich. More than 40 spirit stones were piled into a small mound, and 5 first-grade low-tier spirit talismans were stacked neatly, with even a single first-grade mid-tier spirit talisman among them, a value equivalent to a full year of my own arduous farming effort. Yet what brought me the greatest joy was that within the storage bag, I discovered a small jade sword no longer than the palm of my hand. At a glance, I confirmed it to be a magical flying sword. 3 months ago, I had seen a sword cultivator in the market with a blade just as sharp as this. Even from a distance, the mere sight of it had made my eyes ache. I flicked my hand, drawing the flying sword into my palm, and gently tested the edge with my finger. This was a genuine magical artifact, a rarity in the market. Legend says only those with the cultivation of the late chi condensation stage could possess such an item. My own cultivation has yet to reach the 2nd level of chi condensation, and I am still far from having the power to wield this flying sword. If only I could become a sword cultivator, to breathe out with a word and watch as sword chi cuts across the horizon, slaughtering demons and subduing monsters. However, the smile on my face gradually faded, replaced by confusion and a growing sense of dread. I thought of Wang Ju. I had killed Sun Li, and although I left behind no physical evidence, who could say if Wang Ju suspected me? After all, I was Sun Li's neighbor, and one of the primary suspects. If Wang Ju were to strike at me without needing proof, how could I possibly protect myself? His cultivation base is at the formidable 6th layer of chi refining, and he possesses a mid-grade magical artifact, the Myriad Beast Pagoda. Could a mere rogue cultivator like me truly remain unscathed? Since that is the case, I must act before the truth is exposed, utilizing my recovery points to their absolute limit, rapidly elevating my strength. Even a cornered rabbit will bite when pushed. If the moment truly comes, I will have no choice but to risk my life. My brows relaxed and a flash of fierce ruthlessness crossed my eyes. Today is the market day at Qingyu Square. Perhaps I can scavenge for some items to solve my financial woes. or perhaps even find the remaining fragments of Sun Li's sword-controlling technique. Thinking of this, I stood up without hesitation and bolted toward the main thoroughfare of the market. Come and take a look. Do not let these opportunities slip by. Spirit talismans hand-carved over 3 months, high-quality spirit rice and spirit grain seed. The sound of hawking filled my ears as I walked along the street, my gaze scanning the various stalls until it finally rested upon the stand of an old man, dressed in tattered robes with disheveled hair, with several torn, ruined manuals scattered across his stall. Little friend, have you taken a fancy to something? A flicker of light danced in the old man's eyes. What is this manual? I pointed to the torn book and asked, is this the flame disguise technique? Haha, it may be a bit tattered, but it is a rare and elusive art. If you want it, one spirit stone will make it yours. Flame disguise technique, my heart leaped with joy. With the flame disguise technique, I could alter my appearance to sell spirit herbs safely, yet I kept my expression neutral, turning away as if to leave. 1 spirit stone? Why don't you go out and rob someone instead? Young friend, wait a moment. If you truly wish for it, I can offer it to you for a lower price. The old man hurriedly pulled me back, offering me a shard of a spirit stone while shoving the tattered sword control technique manual into my hands. No haggling. I spoke indifferently, turning to walk away. I sense fate between us, young friend. Just take it for 1 spirit stone shard. The old man nodded frantically. I retrieved a spirit stone shard from my storage bag, collected the 2 manuals, and quickly vanished into the crowd, rushing back to my residence. Inside the dim room, I held the 2 tattered manuals and stared at the system interface. With 77 restoration points remaining for the day, I could restore the incomplete sword control technique for 21 points, and the incomplete flame transformation technique for 6 points. I decided to restore the flame transformation technique first. A moment later, the interface updated. The flame transformation technique had been restored. It was a low-grade water element technique. The description stated it could use blood to dissolve and alter one's appearance, effectively disrupting one's aura and concealing one's true identity. This is excellent. If I alter my appearance and conceal my aura before heading out to trade spirit herbs, Manager Chen would never know it was me. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, a knocking sound echoed from outside, and my heart skipped a beat, cold sweat instantly drenching my forehead. Brother Yuan, it's me, it's not him. I let out a sigh of relief, though a wave of disgust rose within me. This fellow was a complete gambler. If he wasn't begging for spirit stones, he was mooching off me for food and drink. I opened the door helplessly. A foul stench assaulted my senses. Dingbo stood there with his clothes in disarray, his hair matted and glistening with grease. I'll say this first. I just paid the rent, and I don't have a single spirit stone left. Besides, you still owe me 3 stones from last time. Brother Yuan, I beg you, I have truly turned over a new leaf. I haven't had a proper meal in a month. I only need to borrow 3 spirit stones from you. His entire body trembled, his lips were deathly pale, and his eyes were filled with bloodshot veins. This was the consequence of excessive use of ascension pills. Although ascension pills are cheap, they are incredibly addictive. Dingbo had fallen into such depravity. I spoke firmly. I will say this only once. I have no money. See yourself out. Without waiting for him to continue his pleas, I shoved him toward the threshold and slammed the door shut with a heavy thud. Liang Yuan, you Brother Yang, Zhang Yang, none of the people at the spirit rice shop are clean. I rubbed my temples, my resolve to escape this mire only strengthening. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, leaving only 10 days until the rent was due. During this period, I relied on the spirit rain technique to cultivate immortal herbs, resulting in a bountiful harvest. Clad in black robes and a conical hat to conceal my identity, I arrived at the Myriad Arts Pavilion and swept my hand, displaying 1,000 stalks of ripe spirit herbs upon the counter. Customer, do you intend to sell all of these? Treasurer Chen greeted me warmly, eager to trade them for spirit stones. I nodded, and over 300 spirit stones clattered into my bag. With a flick of my wrist, I stored them in my spatial bag, my heart surging with suppressed excitement. Finally, I would be able to move out of this dilapidated shack. I would no longer be hounded by that wretch Dingbo. As I departed, someone followed me, but I performed the flame disguise technique and vanished the moment I ducked into a narrow alley. Upon returning home, I retrieved the tattered manual for the sword control technique, having 21 restoration points remaining for the day. My fingers trembled slightly. At last, I could proceed with the restoration. The restored sword control technique was described as a high-grade manual. It allowed one to control a sword with divine sense and manipulate objects from afar. This is wonderful. I can finally practice the sword control technique and possess a true trump card for combat. I wanted to laugh out loud 3 times. The gilded metal sword art could only kill enemies from 10 paces away. It could not compare to the sword control technique. I calmed myself and took out another treasure, the damaged turtle shell shield. It required 18 restoration points, but I currently lacked enough. Once restored, my combat capability would see a comprehensive increase. Time slipped away to the final days. When I returned to the shack, I saw from a distance that the door had been thrown wide open. Inside were several familiar figures. My expression instantly chilled, and I strode inside, roaring in anger. Dingbo, you have the audacity to bring Zhang Yang into my home without my permission. Dingbo was lounging lazily on my bed. Zhang Yang sat nearby, wearing a look of immense smugness. Brother Yuan, you've returned? Zhang Yang patted Dingbo on the shoulder and smiled at me. Dingbo rubbed his eyes and stood up, approaching me with a sycophantic grin. Brother Yuan, you must lend me some spirit stones this time. I brushed his hand away in disgust, a wave of killing intent rising in my heart. Zhang Yang, why are you here? I asked in a cold voice. Dingbo lost all his spirit stones. He said you were doing well for yourself, so he came to borrow some. Zhang Yang offered a cunning smile. I let out a cold laugh, thinking to myself, my spirit herbs have ripened but remain unharvested. Do assist me in gathering them. Is it true that if we sell them for spirit stones, you will lend us some? Zhang Yang was momentarily stunned, his face quickly blossoming with delight. Dingbo also chimed in with impatient urging. Without another word, I led them toward the spirit field. The fragrance of over 100 spirit herbs drifted through the air, enough to trade for at least 30 spirit stone. Brother Yuan, you have truly struck it rich this time. I won't ask for much. Just lend me 25 stones, and I shall repay you in the future. Dingbo's eyes bulged with greed, while Zhang Yang's gaze shifted restlessly, already scheming to acquire even more. Say, Brother Yuan, what kind of flying sword is this? You have actually mastered the sword flight technique? This flying sword must be worth quite a few spirit stones, right? I nodded with a faint smile, forming a seal to send the flying sword dancing around my fingertips. Not bad, is it? I prepared this specifically for you to see. Zhang Yang's expression shifted and he turned, intending to flee. Want to run? It is too late. With a sharp whistle, the flying sword darted outward. Zhang Yang was struck at the back of his neck and collapsed to the ground. How could you? Dingbo, paralyzed by terror, raised his feet in a desperate attempt to escape. My flying sword vibrated, piercing straight through the center of his brow. I retrieved the sword and wiped it clean, my heart feeling strangely composed. Keeping these treacherous dogs alive would only invite further calamity. I began to search their remains. Dingbo's storage bag was empty, but the contents of Zhang Yang's bag made my eyes light up. A purple alchemy furnace, a gray-bristled talisman brush, a piece of dark mahogany, over 100 spirit stones, and a first-grade high-tier stealth talisman. My heart raced with excitement, and I hurriedly cleared the grass to bury the corpses. Upon returning to my room, a sudden wariness took hold. Zhang Yang's storage bag was far too well stocked for an ordinary disciple. Could he have ties to the manager of the spirit rice shop? It seems I must accrue more spirit stones quickly if I am to find peace of mind. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Wearing a bamboo hat to conceal my identity, I entered the Wanfa pavilion. Welcome, honored guest. Please, tell me what you require. Manager Chen spoke with great enthusiasm. He had recognized me as that mysterious customer. I browsed for a long while before pointing to a specific talisman. I will take this spirit talisman. Ah, that is a master copy of the Clarity talisman. Although it is fragmented, it contains handwritten notes of profound insight. I proceeded to purchase additional materials for talisman crafting. Are you certain about this purchase, guest? This is a master copy of the Clarity talisman. Though incomplete, it is exceptionally rare. 1 spirit stone, let me examine it. I nodded and completed the purchase. I knew that a master talisman is hard to come by and absolutely worth the price. Upon stepping out of the Wanfa pavilion, the effect of the disguise technique faded, and I headed straight for the Wangxian Tower within the market, where the sign hung high. This is the dream destination for countless rogue cultivators seeking refuge. Behind the counter sat a woman with her face veiled by a silk cloth. She was the legendary mistress, xuanhuan. Does the guest wish to rent a room? She cast a glance at me. I require a room. How many spirit stones? 3 spirit stones per month. Xuanhuan blinked. Noticing my gaze fixed upon her, she chuckled softly and stood up to approach me. Little brother, what are you looking at? I gave a light cough and averted my gaze. Nothing at all. I have long heard of Xuanhuan's enduring grace, and seeing you today, the rumors truly do not do you justice. Beneath her veil, there appeared to be a scar. As I stared, a plan suddenly formed in my mind. Mistress, I noticed you seem to have an old wound on your face. It is quite a coincidence, as I once encountered a technique capable of healing such injuries. In truth, I possess no medical knowledge whatsoever. I was merely planning to use my restoration ability as a ruse. Is that true? She was visibly shaken by these words. This injury had plagued her for years. In reality, it was a form of toxin. I will return to search for that prescription. For now, please grant me a room. This humble one is called Xuanhuan. If you do not mind, little friend, calling me elder sister would be perfectly fine. As long as you truly cure this face of mine, I would be willing to satisfy any request you have. She covered her mouth and laughed softly, her tone turning gentle. There has been a misunderstanding. If I truly cure your injury, mistress, I would not dare to make any demands of you. I steadied myself and followed behind her, my gaze fixed upon her elegant figure. In the world of cultivation, human relationships can be the difference between life and death. If she trusts me, there will naturally be opportunities to explore. Upon entering my room, I did not hesitate to cast the transformation art, leaving Wangxian Tower to try my luck at finding a pill recipe. After all, Zhang Yang possesses a cauldron, and if I wish to join a sect in the future, I must master one of the 4 essential crafts: alchemy, talismans, artifact refinement, or formations, to qualify for the entrance examination. Unfortunately, the duration of my transformation expired before I could locate a recipe, forcing me to hasten my return as the sky darkened. I strode toward the main entrance of Wangxian Tower, turning a corner only to collide directly with someone. A familiar exclamation reached my ears, and my heart tightened, a premonition of disaster washing over me. I intended to feign ignorance and continue walking, but the person quickly caught up to me.
What is?
What is wrong? Brother Yuan has struck it rich, moving from the outer shacks into Wangshan Tower, and now you no longer recognize an old acquaintance? I forced a smile and replied. Chen Yang, I am in a hurry and did not see you clearly. This man was handsome, dressed in white, and holding a folding fan like a wealthy young master, yet a sense of revulsion rose within me. I knew his history all too well. He was a procurer of information. I have matters to attend to. Farewell. Haha, Brother Yuan, you truly are a busy man. I wonder if you have heard? Ding Bo and Zhang Yang are dead. Their soul lamps have all extinguished. Even your former neighbor Sun Li. Her corpse has been discovered as well. Tell me, do you think these events have anything to do with you? I was deeply shaken. This man knew far too much. Not only did he know my identity, but he had successfully connected those incidents together. He was intentionally probing for a reaction, and without turning back, I narrowed my eyes, murderous intent flickering within them. But at that very moment, a familiar figure emerged from the tower. Little friend, you have finally returned. Why not stay and keep the sister company for a while? It was the proprietress of Wangshan Tower, Xuanhuan. She looked at me with a radiant smile. I must decline. I am heading back now. I hurriedly turned to leave. Chen Yang stood stunned. Observing that my relationship with Xuanhuan was not superficial, his eyes flickered, and without another word, he silently withdrew. Yet I knew he would not let this go. Returning to my room, I shut the door with a loud click. My heart burned with anxiety as if clawed by 1,000 ants. Tran Duong knows my background. He must have deduced that the deaths of those men are linked to me. If he reveals this information to the spirit rice shop, or if Tran Duong is a relative of the shopkeeper, I will have to face the retaliation of the entire spirit rice shop. However, he may not choose to speak immediately. He likely intends to exploit me or perhaps threaten Song Chan, which grants me a sliver of time. The most urgent matter now is to seize every opportunity to bolster my strength. The shopkeeper's wounds can still be treated, but to earn her favor, ultimately, my current strength remains insufficient. I need a pill formula. I must practice alchemy. That is right. I possess the Master Talisman template. I can craft talismans, and I still have a wooden puppet. I retrieved the Spirit Clearing Master Talisman template and the materials for talisman crafting. Taking a deep breath, I calm my mind and focus my energy. The remaining repair points for the day are 18. It will cost 3 points to repair the damaged Spirit Clearing Master Talisman. I proceed with the restoration immediately. A moment later, the attribute interface updates. The Spirit Clearing Master Talisman has been fully repaired. It is a first-grade low-tier water element spirit talisman. The Spirit Clearing Talisman aids in cultivation, allowing one to achieve twice the result with half the effort. It is done. Once in possession of this Master Talisman, I can replicate it continuously, and even if I fail, I can utilize the repair technique to restore it, entirely negating the waste of materials. I immediately attempt to craft 3 spirit talismans, but unfortunately, all of them fail. This Tao of talismans is indeed difficult to master. It is well deserved of its reputation as the most wealth-consuming path. With no other choice, I begin the restoration process. Unexpectedly, it only requires 1 point to restore its discarded spirit talisman. Furthermore, given its relatively high grade, I feel a sense of relief. With plans to sell the talismans and then search for a pill formula, I refuse to waste a single moment and immediately set out for the Wanfa Pavilion. When I hand the 3 restored first-grade, low-tier spirit-clearing talismans to shopkeeper Tran, his expression is remarkably complex. This style of talisman crafting has all but vanished in this region. How could I possibly have produced them? He stares at the talismans repeatedly, his eyes filled with profound suspicion. I collect the spirit stones and turn to leave, feeling a sense of satisfaction. After restoring each talisman, they sell for 15 spirit stones apiece. This trip alone has yielded 45. In comparison, my harvest of spirit herbs only yielded 30. It seems that crafting talismans is a far more lucrative endeavor. However, the duration of the disguise technique is limited, and I must hasten to elevate my strength. I scanned my surroundings before finally coming to a halt before the gates of the Medicine King Pavilion. As I stepped inside, the antiquated decor and the heavy, lingering scent of elixirs rushed to meet me. Most of the medicinal pills and alchemy prescriptions on the shelves were far too expensive for me to afford. Suddenly, I discovered a tattered, torn-up prescription hidden away in a dark corner. This discarded, incomplete prescription cost only 3 spirit stones, and my heart raced with joy. It was exactly what I had been searching for. While this damaged, body-tempering pill prescription might be useless to others, it could prove to be of great utility to me. I selected a few more alchemy materials and purchased the entire lot. The shopkeeper appeared to be a member of the sect. He merely glanced at me dismissively before losing all interest. I paid the spirit stones, collected the prescription and the materials, and turned to depart. With the prescription secured and the materials in hand, I was finally ready to begin alchemy. My heart fluttered with secret delight. Yet, upon returning to the entrance of the Wangshan Pavilion, someone suddenly called out to me from the noodle shop across the street. Brother Yuan, what a coincidence. We meet again. Would you be willing to grant me the honor of your company for a moment? The familiar tone of his voice caused my expression to darken. I turned my head, and who should it be but Chen Yang? He sat beneath the awning of the noodle shop, raising a cup toward me. It was clear he had been waiting here for quite some time. I felt a profound sense of reluctance in my heart, but considering that he possessed a knowledge of my recent movements, he remained a lingering threat. Since the intent to kill had already stirred within me, I resolved to meet him face to face. With that, I turned and walked toward him. Brother Yuan, you are truly remarkable. It has been a long time since I have kept in touch with old acquaintances such as yourself. I never expected that someone as inconspicuous as you were back then could make their way into the Wangxian pavilion, and furthermore, be acquainted with the female shopkeeper. Chen Yang stood up and approached, attempting to drape an arm over my shoulder in a display of familiarity, but I recoiled in disgust. Chen Yang, state your business. If there is nothing of importance, I shall be on my way. As a matter of fact, there is a matter to discuss. Chen Yang, unfazed by my coldness, pulled back his hand. He lowered his voice and said, Brother Yuan, I see you are well acquainted with the You already know what line of work I am in, brother. We need not speak a word of my affairs, but you must act as a bridge and introduce me to the proprietor of Wangxian Pavilion. What do you think? Damn it, this man is actually setting his sights on Chu Tam Nuong. Even though she is nearly disfigured beneath that veil, this gigolo is not discouraged in the slightest. His dedication to his craft is truly profound. I cursed inwardly. If I were to truly assist him, would I not be acting as a pimp? Yet I did not rush to refuse. I told him to let me consider it for a moment. If there is nothing else, I shall take my leave. Is this really something that requires much consideration, Brother Yuan? A flicker of displeasure flashed through Chen Yang's eyes. Regardless, we are old acquaintances. Since we have reunited, I must treat you to a meal at the old tavern we used to frequent. What do you think? Otherwise, I fear I shall have to make a trip to the spirit rice shop. I have been meaning to purchase some spirit rice lately. He is clearly threatening me. Very well, I agreed without a moment's hesitation. Then it is settled. We shall meet tonight, no excuses. Chen Yang smiled as he turned away, but his eyes were filled with chilling malice. I stepped into Wangxian Pavilion with a plan already forming in my mind. A secret rendezvous on the outskirts of the market at the dead of night is clearly an act of ill intent. Since that is the case, I shall grant him his wish. The moon was dim and the wind was high. The outskirts of the market were overgrown with weeds and the air was thick with a foul, repulsive stench. Chen Yang waited beneath a small shack, appearing to be alone, but in reality, several accomplices were lying in ambush nearby. He was plotting against me, assuming I had surely made my fortune through murder and pillaging, yet he failed to realize that the figures hidden within the tall grass had already ceased to move. To silence them permanently, I did not hesitate to use the invisibility talisman left behind by Zhang Yang. Thud. It was done without a soul noticing. A flying sword grazed the top of Chen Yang's head and landed in the damp mud. The sound it made in the silent night was piercingly distinct. The assassin never revealed himself from start to finish. Only the victim's spatial storage bag vanished into thin air. I pulled the brim of my bamboo hat low and used the cover of night to quickly return to Wangxian Pavilion. Only when I had bolted the door of my room did I let out a sigh of relief. With a clatter, 4 spatial storage bags appeared on the table. In addition to Chen Yang's, I had effortlessly taken care of the 3 accomplices in ambush as well. Chen Yang alone possessed 3 and 10 spirit stones. The 4 of them together yielded a total of 358. This amount of wealth is not considered significant to me at present. However, from Chen Yang's storage bag, I unearthed a secret manual, the Dongshan scripture. It was a damaged dual cultivation technique, and to my surprise, it even contained illustrations. With 12 restoration points available for the day, the manual could finally be restored. The incomplete Dongshan scripture cost 9 points. I theorized that dual cultivation might be the key to advancing my cultivation. I proceeded to initiate the restoration. The Dongzhuan scripture was restored to a mid-grade secret manual, described as a technique that guides internal energy to harmonize the dual poles, achieving a state of mutual refinement. Gazing upon the restored manual, my face flushed with heat, and I promptly stowed it away with a serious expression. With the remaining 3 restoration points, I casually restored a body-tempering pill recipe. The next day, a persistent drizzle fell as I rose early and headed to the alchemy room of the Wanten Pavilion. As I arrived at the entrance, the door to an alchemy chamber swung open. A waft of fragrance rushed out, revealing the disheveled figure of Chu Tam Nuong. Shopkeeper, I am quite surprised to see you, I remarked. Young master, up so early to practice alchemy, she replied. Indeed, I came to check if your medicinal pills were ready, though it seems today another batch of materials has gone to waste. I only managed to refine 3 waste pills. Chu Tam Nuong sighed, yet there was no trace of sorrow in her expression. She caught the sparkle in my eyes and began to laugh, her figure swaying gracefully. Little brother, where exactly are you looking? Are you staring at my hands or perhaps my feet? Nonsense, I stammered, my face reddening, as I struggled to maintain my composure before this mature and alluring woman. I cleared my throat and explained, in truth, I noticed the waste pills in your hand. I wonder if you might sell them to me? I have need of them. To others, these waste pills were nothing but refuse, but to me, they were treasures that could be transformed through my restoration interface. Seeing my youthful awkwardness, Chu Tam Nuong's desire to tease me grew even stronger. She breathed out a scent like orchids, leaning in close until my entire body trembled. You want them? Take them, little brother. These are merely waste energy-increasing pills. Take them quickly. She took my hand and personally placed the 3 pills into my palm. As our skin made contact, my heart skipped a beat, feeling a softness that was beyond imagination. Then I thank you, elder sister, I said, collecting the waste pills. My breath grew ragged as my inner turmoil betrayed my outward calm. The energy-increasing pill is a first-grade high-grade medicinal pill, the optimal choice for one in the early stages of qi condensation. In half a month, I shall return to examine your injuries. I am 80% certain that I can cure you. Accepting her gift means I am now indebted to her. I must settle this favor as soon as possible. Furthermore, if Wang Ju were to find me during this period, based on her promise, Su Sanyang would certainly not stand idly by. Are you speaking the truth, younger brother? You can truly heal my injuries. Su Sanyang was initially only teasing. But seeing the conviction in my words, her heart was deeply shaken. She had never believed in the honeyed words of men, yet now her face flushed crimson and her eyes shimmered with ripples of emotion. If you can heal my face, I will surely compensate you well. Half a month later, I will come to visit you again, sister. I did not dare to linger any longer. The fragrance on the female manager always causes my mind to wander, so I turned and hurried back to my room. To accumulate restoration points, I rarely left the Wangxin pavilion. Half a month later, I took out the waste pills. Restoration points remaining on the 18th, items currently available for restoration. 3 waste chi increasing pills for 6 points. As they were being restored, my palm began to heat up. In an instant, the 3 waste pills became translucent. With a shimmering glow, the chi increasing pills were fully restored. Flawless quality. Description. An exceptionally high grade, the first consumption grants 3 years of internal cultivation. With such flawless quality, I was overjoyed beyond measure. Low-level rogue cultivators would cast aside everything for the sake of spirit stones, yet I only require a few restoration points to defy the heavens and change my fate. Without a moment's hesitation, I swallowed 1 pill, and as I sat with my 5 hearts facing the heavens, spiritual energy surged within my dantian. With a soft pop, I majestically achieved a breakthrough to the 3rd layer of chi refining. Feeling the abundant spiritual power coursing through my body, my face flushed with excitement. If I can stabilize my cultivation before consuming the remaining 2 pills, I am confident I can surge straight to the 5th layer of chi refining in one go. By then, I will have the strength to resist Wang Ju. After the breakthrough, I headed out to find food. On the main thoroughfare of Qingyu Market, passing by a brothel with its doors slightly ajar, a female rogue cultivator leaned out and our eyes met. Oh, Brother Yuan, so it is you? Come inside and spend some time, she beckoned. My heart sank and I turned away without a word. This woman was Ning Xuanqiao and the burly man beside her was her husband, Liang Tongnan. Back then, I was young and naive, admiring the dashing appearance of this pair. When I returned home, I even secretly followed them to the marketplace, believing them to be guides on the path of immortality, never expecting they were engaged in such sordid work. Liang Tongnan was from my own hometown, sharing the same clan name. He personally brought his wife to solicit clients. Witnessing this low-level path of immortality devoid of all dignity, I felt only disgust, quickening my pace to escape this mire. Survival in the cultivation world is arduous, but I refused to descend to that level of existence. My expression darkened as I wove through the crowd, vanishing from sight so that Liang Tongnan and Ning Xuanqiao could not find me. Even without the crisis I currently face, I would still take a detour to avoid these two under normal circumstances. Brother Yuan, don't leave. We are from the same hometown. Come inside for a while. I will give you a 50% discount. Liang Tongnan's voice trailed after me, and a wave of nausea rose within my chest. To think he would actually try to solicit my patronage for his own wife's business. I hurried back to Wangxian Pavilion, where the artificial mountains and flowing water remained as unchanged as ever. Suo Sanyang was sitting in the pavilion opposite. I composed myself and stepped forward. Half a month had passed, and my recovery points were finally sufficient. Only after healing Suo Sanyang would I truly be able to set my mind at ease. This favor alone would ensure I no longer had to fear Yongju. It might even earn me a measure of respect from the proprietor of the Ningmi shop. Little friend, you have arrived? Come here, sit next to your sister. Seeing my slightly quickened breathing, Suo Sanyang clearly cared deeply about the injury that had tormented her for so many years. My face flushed crimson as I sat down beside her. Little friend, allow me to call you younger brother. I have walked this path alone to reach this day. Having endured trials you likely cannot even imagine, but there is one thing I can assure you of. All these years I have remained a virgin. Whether intentional or otherwise, Suo Sanyang pressed her body close to mine, her gaze languid and alluring. Sister, why bring up such matters? Sister, I only want to tell you that it is all because of this scar on my face. She steered the conversation to the heart of the matter. Little brother, as long as you can heal the wound on my face, I am willing to be yours. I swallowed hard, struggling to keep my composure. Sister, let me examine your injury first, and then I will begin the treatment. Do you wish for me to stay here? Su Sanyang was astonished, yet a flicker of desire crossed her expression. Her face was afflicted by the black water toxin, an ailment that could not be purged despite searching throughout the entire Liangfang region. In that case, I shall cast aside my pride. I only hope that you will not despise me for this. She slowly raised her hands to remove the veil covering her face. Upon the left side of her face lay a ghastly jet-black scar. Yet, it was evident that had it not been for this disfigurement, she would undoubtedly be a peerless beauty. Pardon me, sister, I said, reaching out to touch the wound. The attribute panel manifested instantly, indicating that my remaining 12 daily repair points could neutralize 2 points of the black water toxin. To think that only 2 points were required, a profound shock rippled through my heart. I immediately commenced the restoration. Restoration in progress. In an instant the black stain faded, visible to the naked eye. Su Sanyang's body trembled slightly, a cool, numbing sensation causing her to nearly release a soft moan. What has become of my face? She abandoned all restraint. I pulled out a mirror. The moment she glanced into it, her eyes grew misty with tears. My face is healed. Haha, it is healed, finally, it is truly healed. Little brother, are you perhaps a disciple of the Medicine King Valley? How do you possess such profound ability? What kind of medical art is this? You cured it with merely a single touch. It is enough that you are well, sister. This medical art possesses its own mysteries and requires no further effort. I replied ambiguously. After all, this was my greatest secret. Was a simple touch truly all that was needed? Was there perhaps something more? Little brother, I told you I would repay you handsomely, and besides, I fear the toxin may recur. Shall we go into your chambers so that you may examine me more thoroughly? What do you say? Very well, let us go. I must observe the injury further. Before I could regain my composure, she pulled me into the room, her face flushed with heat. With a sharp click, the door was bolted shut. Though I am young, I could not help but be stirred. As fate would have it, just as we stepped through the threshold, a fellow villager Xuanhuan was passing by, her waist held firmly by a cultivator reeking of alcohol. Could that be Yuanga? Why is he here? Could it be that he too has resorted to selling himself as a companion at the Wangshan Pavilion? Xuanhuan was struck with disbelief, only snapping back to reality when someone tapped her on the shoulder. A day and a night have passed. As I sat upon the bed, my body felt utterly exhausted, as if completely drained of essence. I have successfully cultivated the Dongshuan manual to the second layer. I opened the restored version of the Dongshuan manual, feeling the spiritual energy within my body so abundant it threatened to overflow. Incredible, the fourth layer of the qi condensation stage. Did I break through overnight? Thanks to the power of dual cultivation and the profound mysteries of the manual from a foundation establishment expert, I have leaped 2 levels in succession. It is unclear where Su Sanyang has gone. Only the traces left upon the bed remain to prove she maintained her chastity. Beside the pillow, she left behind a lotus-embroidered storage pouch. Is this too a form of compensation? Filled with anticipation, I began my inspection. Inside lay over 2,000 spirit stones, along with 3 invisibility talismans, diamond talismans, and various other precious spirit talismans. With these accumulated resources, I finally possessed the confidence to face the impending dangers. My stomach growled, forcing me to venture out in search of food. I had not gone far before a voice called out to me. Yuan Jie, it really was you I saw yesterday, why are you here? I looked up to see a figure standing beneath the eaves of the porch. Xuanhuan was dressed in thin, heavily layered garments, her appearance betraying the weariness of one who has spent years in the brothels. She stepped forward with a knowing smile and lowered her voice. If I hadn't accompanied a guest to the Wangshan Pavilion yesterday, I never would have known you were living here. Moreover, you aren't just working as a companion. You've managed to latch on to the manager Su. What? I was stunned and immediately grew indignant. You are no longer a child, I replied. You understand that the path of cultivation is not an easy one. There is nothing shameful about this matter. Go now, your Uncle Liang is waiting for you outside. It has been a long time since we last met as fellow villagers. We will treat you to a meal. Should you miss us in the future, do not forget to visit me at my old place. I wanted to clarify the situation, but I found myself at a loss for words. At that moment, the brawny Liang, Yuan, it truly is you. Come, let your uncle take you for a decent meal. I still have matters to attend to, so I brushed his hand away, a chill settling deep within my heart. Although there remained a shred of old affection between this couple and me, I no longer desired any entanglement with them. Yuan, it was we who brought you here, so please do not take it to heart. Ah, you must be looking down on our actions, but there is much you do not yet know. Even your uncle Kongnan could not accept this when he first arrived at the market. That was until I learned that the proprietor of the spirit rice shop also built his fortune in the world of the red light district before opening his store with his wife. Look at him now. He has already reached the foundation establishment stage. Your uncle Kongnan intends to open a spirit rice shop in this Qingyu market as well. My heart shuddered violently. The proprietor of the spirit rice shop is a foundation establishment cultivator. If Zhang Yang is truly his relative, then my situation is perilous indeed. I truly have urgent business and cannot join you for a gathering. Remember this well, do not mention that you have met me, and above all, do not let the spirit rice shop proprietor know I am here, nor speak my name. Otherwise, a catastrophe will occur. Having said my piece, I turned and vanished into the crowd. However, I did not go far. Instead, I hid in a narrow alleyway. I crushed a precious invisibility talisman and began to tail them. Matters concerning my life and death are not things I can afford to be careless about. At the main intersection, the middle-aged cultivator with a goat-like beard, Zhang Huairen, blocked Kongnan's path. This is the proprietor of the spirit rice shop, a formidable foundation establishment expert. My hair stood on end as I hid in the shadows of the loft, listening intently. Ha, Proprietor Zhang, you have shown great kindness to my wife and me. I followed in your footsteps and heeded your advice, which is why I brought my wife to that place. That is right, we just encountered young Liang Yuan. When we are free, we will bring him to pay his respects to you. My heart skipped a beat with anxiety. Although Ning Xingxiao reacted quickly and pinched her husband, the words had already been spoken. You speak of Yuan? Where is he? Zhang Huairen narrowed his eyes as he asked. His tone was indifferent, yet it sent a bone-chilling cold through me. He was indeed searching for me. I prepared to retreat. From behind me, a faint ripple of spiritual energy emerged. I turned back to look at the spot where the couple had just been standing, and only 2 pools of blood remained. Xuanhuan had silenced them without a trace of mercy. Not daring to linger, I utilized the invisibility talisman and fled back toward the Wangshan Tower. A vicious and inhumane person of this caliber is certainly not someone I can oppose at this stage of my cultivation. After living in seclusion for half a month, the market fair finally arrived. I cast a disguise technique to alter my appearance and donned a bamboo hat before heading out. At one of the stalls, a woman in white robes, as cold and elegant as jade, immediately drew my attention. On her display lay an outdated handwritten manual concerning the art of puppetry. Young master, have your eyes fallen upon this puppetry manual? It contains records on the refinement methods for first-grade high-tier puppets. However, well, it has been water-damaged, so the text is quite blurred. My heart surged with excitement, yet I feigned a look of regret. How many spirit stones? 1 spirit stone, and I will not haggle. I purchased the manual and picked up a few pieces of rosewood materials as well. Seeing this, a flicker of hope appeared in the woman's eyes. Young master, are you also well versed in the craft of puppet refinement? I dare not hide the truth from you. I possess a damaged puppet and have been seeking someone to repair it. If you are indeed a master of this craft, could you perhaps lend a hand? You are correct, I am indeed versed in this path. However, I currently do not have the time. Forgive me, but I cannot make any promises. I must remain vigilant against the entanglements of sect feuds. That is truly a pity. Young master, if you are willing, could you sell some of your puppets to me? Puppets are incredibly scarce, and even the Wanfa pavilion is currently out of stock. I am in urgent need of them. Let us speak of this later, I replied and quickly departed. Upon returning to the Wangshan Tower, I slipped into my room. I summoned the attribute panel to deal with that puppetry manual first. The remaining refinement points from the 28th were available to be utilized. The incomplete handwritten puppetry manual began the refinement process. In an instant, the text within the manual became as clear as new. The handwritten puppetry manual had been fully restored. This high-tier manual contained refinement methods for various puppets, ranging from first-grade low-tier to high-tier. Truly, I had unearthed a treasure. I then retrieved the precious item from the bottom of my storage, the damaged earth turtle seal. As a Dharma treasure, it required 18 refinement points to restore. Though the points were precious, I did not hesitate. The earth turtle seal was being refined. Restoration complete. A second-grade, low-tier earth element defensive Dharma treasure, capable of withstanding a standard blow from a Foundation Establishment early-stage cultivator. This is excellent. A second-grade magical artifact corresponds to the Foundation Establishment stage. With this added layer of security, I can finally rest easy. Facing Wangju and Zhang Huairen, I am no longer without the strength to strike back. There is no time to delay. I must begin crafting the puppet, continuing to stockpile my trump cards. I take a deep breath, stabilizing my spirit and forcing myself to remain calm. Though my current circumstances are peaceful, I know not how far the danger lies. Wangju is certainly already searching for me. As for Zhang Huairen, due to the death of Zhang Yang, he likely suspects me. What could they be plotting? If I can refine a suitable puppet, I can use it as my eyes and ears. Knowing both oneself and the enemy is the only way to find peace of mind. With that thought, I began to leaf through the puppet crafting manual. Very quickly, I identified several types of puppets that could be crafted with the materials I currently possess. For a low-grade first-tier puppet, the required materials are few. I began to bury myself in the work. It must be said that this manual is truly a treasure. It records the methods of puppet refinement with meticulous detail. However, after half a day had passed, I stared at the sparrow puppet in front of me, its head crooked and its beak askew. I could not help but knit my brows. After all, this was my first attempt at refinement. I had mentally prepared myself for failure, but I had not expected the failure to be this absolute. The problem is not significant. I have restoration points, and I successfully restored it using only 2 points. The sparrow puppet, which had previously looked nearly distorted, suddenly underwent a transformation, eventually appearing vivid and lifelike. To think it only cost 2 points, its utility is truly exceptional. I stared in pleasant surprise at the description of the sparrow puppet in the attribute panel. Tier, low-grade first-tier sparrow puppet. Description: uses spirit beads for eyes and contains a complete set of internal organs. Driven by spiritual power, it is capable of flight. It can operate within a range of 100 zhang to survey the ground. I immediately infused it with my spiritual power. The sparrow puppet truly flapped its wings and took flight. At first, its movements were slightly stiff, but after a moment, it was indistinguishable from the real thing. An ordinary person, if not paying close attention, would never be able to tell that this is a puppet. A range of 100 zhang is not insignificant. It is truly capable of observing quite a lot. I directed the sparrow puppet to fly out of the window, using my divine sense to manipulate. Smacking my lips in admiration, I thought, excellent, that woman is still manning her stall. She once mentioned that if I could craft puppets, she would be interested in purchasing them. I still have enough materials to construct a few more. I should go see how much profit I can turn. I was exhilarated, fully immersed in the pursuit of spirit stones. As of now, I possess a mastery of many immortal arts, from pill refinement and talisman creation to herbal studies, and presently, puppet craftsmanship. The most important thing is that I need not fear losing my capital. Even if a refinement fails, I can restore the materials to their original state. This gives me immense confidence in my future, provided, of course, that I can overcome the impending dangers and survive long enough to reach maturity. Immediately after, I continued busying myself with the puppets. Once more, I successfully refined 2 combat-type puppets. One was a blade-wielding puppet, and the other was an archer puppet. Both are first-rank mid-grade. This grade is by no means low. If I did not possess the sword control technique, I would truly be tempted to keep them both for myself. It is a pity that first-rank, mid-grade puppets cannot contend with the foundation establishment stage. It is better to sell them. In a blink, the sky had gradually turned dark. The marketplace was brilliantly lit, with lanterns hanging outside every shop. The main street was still bustling with heavy traffic, when a figure wearing a conical hat suddenly approached the stall of a rogue cultivator. Seeing that the woman was still manning her stall, I descended the stairs after casting the concealment technique on myself. Patting my storage bag, I produced these 2 combat puppets. They stood tall and imposing on my left and right sides. Upon seeing this, the woman stood up in astonishment. Though she usually maintained the calm demeanor of a mature, elegant woman, she threw all caution to the wind and exclaimed in shock, "You are actually capable of crafting first-rank, mid-grade puppets? And combat types at that. Furthermore, you completed them within a single day. They are of flawless quality. It is as if you are a seasoned expert." I spoke indifferently, my tone devoid of emotion, though I was inwardly rejoicing. I had lost track of time. I had used all 9 of my meager restoration points to repair the failed scrap pieces. Looking at it now, crafting these puppets in such a short span of time is truly a shocking feat. "Young master, were these all crafted by you?" The woman struggled to conceal the shock in her heart. She regained her composure and said, "I have been impolite. For first-rank, mid-grade puppets, the standard price is 80 spirit stones. I will take them all and send you 200 spirit stones. Furthermore, I am in dire need of puppets. Could you manufacture more of them for me?" Spirit stones are not an issue. I was inwardly astonished. What could be the true significance of this matter? Not fully understanding, I cast the thought to the back of my mind. After all, this is a bustling marketplace. It was not a convenient place for discussion, so once the transaction was complete, I packed up my stall and departed. I had earned 200 spirit stones. I could hardly contain my excitement. It seems that crafting these puppets is quite profitable, provided, of course, that there is demand for them. The young woman before me was in great need of puppets, so it would be wise to get acquainted. "My name is Hiyu, my surname is Liang. You may simply address me as fellow Taoist Liang." We walked to a noodle shop near the main road, where Hiyu observed me intently. Seeing me wearing a conical hat that concealed my features, and realizing I was reluctant to reveal my true identity, she understood that I was a cautious individual, and refrained from pressing further. The path of cultivation is fraught with peril. One must always be prudent in their dealings. I will not hide the truth from you. I am an outer disciple of the puppet sect. Unfortunately, my success rate in refining puppets is extremely low. Furthermore, it requires a vast amount of time, and I am currently being pursued by enemies of my sect. I cannot return there, recklessly. Most of the puppets I brought with me have already been damaged. Puppets are not as common as medicinal elixirs or spiritual talismans. Even the Pavilion of Myriad Techniques here in Qingyu Market does not stock many. Therefore, I am in desperate need of a puppet master from a sect. I immediately sat up straighter. I had heard of the puppet sect. It is one of the 6 great cultivation sects, possessing strength comparable to the Medicine King Valley. As for the Lihuo sect, peace between these sects is non-existent. They treat one another like fire and water. Regardless, to become a disciple of such a sect is a remarkable feat. It is a status that the rogue cultivators of the market admire to no end. Not to mention sect disciples, I am merely a low-level rogue cultivator on the outskirts of the market. Even many of the late-stage chi refinement cultivators in the inner market are people I cannot afford to provoke. Never did I imagine I would find myself in contact with a disciple from a major sect. No wonder she was so generous. It all makes sense now. This female cultivator, Hiyu, must have survived a fierce battle where she relied entirely on her puppets, only to see them destroyed in the conflict. Reflecting on this, my heart stirred. This is a golden opportunity for me, for I possess the ability to restore damaged puppets. So that is how it is. I nodded, finally understanding the situation. However, I calculated that the effects of the Liansong powder would soon fade. This matter required caution, and there was no need to act with reckless haste. "I must take my leave now, but you are in need of a puppet. In truth, I can help you repair your damaged puppet, but I require time to prepare. Consider the price and return in 2 days." "That is acceptable. I've been keeping a low profile in this market town lately. Fellow Taoist Liang, this matter concerns my very life, and it is of great importance. If you assist me, I am willing to spend the night studying the puppet with you." "That sounds good. I shall come to find you." I stood up and departed immediately. In my heart, I felt a sense of regret, for such an opportunity to earn spirit stones should be seized firmly. In reality, the main issue was my lack of restoration points. I needed to accumulate them over time, 1 point per day, which would take at least half a month. My mind was filled with deeper considerations. Being a disciple of a sect, was it possible that one day I too could join a sect? By then, those individuals like xuanhuan and that fellow named Wang Ju, what would there be to fear from them? Unfortunately, it was not that simple. Sects recruit disciples at least once every 3 years, sometimes once a decade. One cannot place all their hopes on such an event. However, it might be possible to cultivate a good relationship with a sect disciple, and Hiyu currently represented such an opportunity. It just so happened that she needed me to repair her puppet, and the prospect of spending the night studying it together. That remark stirred my heart, and I could not help but think of Chu Sanyang. who possessed an allure that was both captivating and timeless. After the scars on Xuanhuan's face had fully healed, I was unsure what she had been busy with lately, but it seemed she had returned today. I caught a glimpse of her figure on my way out, and upon returning to Wanxian Tower, an intense fragrance immediately washed over me. Xuanhuan was not wearing her veil. Her face was now completely free of scars. The passing years had not diminished her charm in the slightest. On the contrary, it only made one yearn to hold her close. She wore a white silken robe, and as she stepped into the room and closed the door behind her, her gaze was filled with longing. My dear brother Liang, it is all thanks to you that I have finally recovered. I still have not repaid my debt to you. With those words, her soft arms wrapped around my neck. I instantly blushed, knowing full well that a fierce battle was about to commence. 2 hours later, Xuanhuan left the bed in high spirits while I remained in a daze. Greetings, little brother. I see you are also capable of refining puppets. Is this corn? Yes, I understand a little bit. I only finished it yesterday. Xuanhuan saw the corn harvesting puppet fly back through the window. In a joyous mood, she held it in the palm of her hand. Suddenly remembering something, she slapped her storage bag and said, "This is for you. This is a second-grade puppet technique. I obtained it some time ago. It allows one to refine a type of second-grade puppet. If you are interested, study it for a while." Finishing her sentence, she took a handwritten manual out of her storage bag. She handed it to me. I took it and examined it. It turned out to be the technique for refining a second-grade black tiger puppet. I flipped through it for a moment. This puppet could also be used as a mount. I had been thinking about when to raise a spirit beast to serve as my own mount. This puppet technique arrived at just the right time. Many thanks, elder sister. This technique is truly precious, likely worth more than several hundred spirit stones. How could I, your elder sister, let you suffer a loss? I have matters to attend to, so I must depart. Focus on your cultivation. Who knows, perhaps one day I will be the one in need of your favor. In truth, Xuanhuan was somewhat astonished by me, especially regarding my medical skills, the origins of which even she could not fathom. Now seeing that I was also capable of crafting puppets, a skill many rogue cultivators could not compare to, she felt I had great potential. Having said that, she embraced me affectionately for a moment before taking her leave. How could I not be overjoyed? Having obtained yet another treasure, I thought to myself that I had truly struck gold. Investing in Xuanhuan previously was indeed a choice that did not disappoint. I continued to flip through the puppet technique manual that Xuanhuan had given me. As long as I crafted defective or broken goods, I could use restoration points to repair them. Creating a second-grade puppet is no simple task. Even with the manual, it would require extensive study. It was quite demanding, which was perfect, as I needed to accumulate restoration points. And so I buried myself in my studies behind locked doors. Today the sky was clear for 10,000 miles. I calculated the time. My restoration points had recovered to 20. During this period, I had gone out occasionally, and since Hongyu was still there, it appeared the time to leave had finally arrived. As for Wangju and Zhonghuairen, I furrowed my brows. The corn harvesting puppet could serve as my eyes and ears. Over these past few days, I had indeed spotted them. In particular, Wangju was cursing while searching for me. He still maintained his usual arrogant and tyrannical demeanor, declaring that should he find me, he would strip the flesh from my bones. What weighed most heavily on my heart, however, was Zhonghuairen, the manager of the spirit rice shop, who had reached the foundation establishment stage. This man frequently appeared in the vicinity, and his nature was ultimately to bully me for my lack of strength. Yet I am not someone who can be bullied at will. Times have changed. Why should I fear him? I lowered my conical hat and stepped out the door, slipping into a hidden corner, while my corn-shucking puppet flew outward. Through the puppet's vision, my expression darkened. It was Wangju again. It would be best to settle this once and for all. In truth, I have not slept soundly for some time. My heart has been filled with urgency, longing to increase my strength, specifically to one day face Wangju. The resentment building within me since that day has finally given me the courage to confront him. I headed in the opposite direction of the main thoroughfare. From a distance, I could see the noodle shop we had previously agreed upon, where a familiar figure stood. He Yu. Fellow Taoist Liang, you have arrived. Seeing me, He Yu waved from afar, and we moved to another location to speak. As a disciple of the puppet sect, He Yu was certainly not short on spirit stones, and she led me toward the Wangxian Pavilion. She had been renting a room at the Wangxian Pavilion for some time, and had commissioned me to repair a damaged puppet. In her view, this task would require a significant amount of time, unable to be completed in a mere moment, so she brought me to her residence both to oversee the repairs and to ensure my safe return. My transformation technique had reached its limit, and, left with no choice, I had to reveal my true appearance. He Yu did not ask a single question, but when we crossed paths with the manager of the Wangxian Pavilion, none other than Xuanhuan, the atmosphere suddenly turned delicate. My dear little brother, you have arrived. Sister, please do not misunderstand. This fellow Taoist and I are merely here to trade puppets. The relationship between Xuanhuan and me was known to no one. It was never made public, continuing in a quiet, surreptitious manner. I did not inquire about her past, and she did the same, which added a layer of intrigue and affection to our bond, as in truth there were genuine feelings between us. Yet, even within this method of cultivation where one repays kindness with their own body, seeing me bring such a young female cultivator back with me, Xuanhuan felt a bitterness in her heart, with a look of resentment flashing in her eyes. Upon hearing my explanation, her mood finally began to settle. Hayu's room was not far from mine, directly across the hall. Upon returning and closing the door firmly, we found ourselves alone in the same room. Hayu blushed slightly and asked, "Fellow Taoist Liang, what is your relationship with the shopkeeper?" "It is not as you think," I replied, casually brushing off the question. Hayu was merely curious. She possessed a somewhat dignified and mature temperament, and was quite decisive in her actions, immediately withdrawing her damaged puppets from her storage bag. With a gentle tap of her jade-like hand, a brilliant light flashed instantly, filling the entire room. Bizarrely shaped puppets lay scattered everywhere, at least 20 of them in total. "Are these all your puppets?" I was stunned, staring in astonishment at these mangled constructs. Each one bore the lingering scars of fierce and brutal battles. Burned by flames, slashed by blades, and pierced by swords. Just what kind of experiences have you endured? My throat tightened. I still could not discern Hayu's true cultivation level. Judging by the damage sustained by these puppets, her enemies were at least in the late stage of chi refining. From this, I deduced that her own cultivation must be at the late stage of chi refining as well. "Fellow Taoist, can you tell if they can be repaired?" "It will require some time." The trouble was that, although I had accumulated a decent amount of restoration points, 20 at present, there were simply too many puppets, and my points were insufficient. "Rest assured, fellow Taoist Liang, spirit stones are no object," Hayu said, a sense of urgency evident in her heart, primarily because the puppet sect was too far from this location, and she would certainly be intercepted and killed if she returned now. She needed these puppets repaired to ensure her own safety. This matter concerned her very life. Gritting her teeth, she made a difficult decision and, blushing, said, "Fellow Taoist, if you truly possess this capability, I would be willing to consider becoming your Tao companion." I was caught off guard, quite taken aback. Repaying a debt with her own body, is this not a classic form of reciprocation? If she were a wandering female cultivator of that sort, especially one from the outer camps, I would not find it strange at all. However, she was a disciple of a sect. It seems that even those on the path of immortality must pay a price to achieve their goals. Naturally, I had my own calculations. It was not for the sake of a so-called Tao companion, but because tonight is the moment to settle all debts and grievances. I only fear my current strength is insufficient. I hope that after repairing the puppets, I can borrow a formidable one to serve as my trump card. This agreement regarding a Taoist partner is entirely unexpected. I have already tasted the benefits of the xuanhuan manual. If things truly turn out this way, it is not an unacceptable outcome. Fellow Taoist He, what is your opinion on this? Rest assured, I cherish my own virtue. Though I have entered my 20s, I still retain my innocence and will certainly not give you cause for reproach. Furthermore, I am in need of puppets. Could you craft a few more for me? Spirit stones will be no object. By the time she finished speaking, Hiyu's face had flushed crimson to the tips of her ears. Despite her dignified temperament, she could not help but blush when it came to matters between a man and a woman. Fellow Taoist He, I do indeed have a demanding request. I can finish repairing the puppets and I can complete several of them today. I have a fierce battle tonight. Would it be possible to borrow one of your powerful puppets to serve as my trump card? Since you would be the one controlling it, I would not be able to take it away. As I looked at Hiyu's blushing face, a flicker of desire stirred within me. Fortunately, having just spent time in intimacy with Chu Tam Nuang, I still possessed a modicum of restraint. "You say you can finish repairing several puppets today?" Hiyu's expression turned to one of astonishment as she glanced toward a tiger-shaped puppet nearby. This puppet possessed a truly ferocious and menacing appearance, and in the form of a tiger with wings, it was indeed like a tiger gaining wings. "Fellow Taoist Liang, this is my most powerful puppet. It is a rank 2 low-grade construct. Can you truly repair it within a single day? If that is indeed the case, I can lend it to you, provided that I am the one to control it. You only need to complete the repairs today. You will be paid every single spirit stone promised. Furthermore, tonight, I shall surrender myself to you. I can craft 2 puppets in a single day, but those are merely rank 1 mid-grade. This, however, is a rank 2 low-grade. One cannot paint them with the same brush. If he can truly repair it in one day, with such talent for puppetry, what would it matter if I gave myself to him?" I nodded without another word, and immediately approached this most ferocious and powerful puppet. Placing my hand upon it, I felt a biting chill. It felt like wood, yet it was not wood, and I could not discern what material it was forged from. While my expression remained calm, a storm was brewing within my heart. A Taoist partner, the Taoist partner of a sect disciple. For a rogue cultivator at the very bottom of the market like me, this was something I never dared to imagine. This alone is worth it, to say nothing of the remuneration in spirit stones. The moment I touched the puppet, the status interface appeared, displaying 20 remaining repair points for the day. Currently, items available for repair include the damaged puppet, the winged tiger. I can expend 18 repair points to restore this fellow Taoist. Perhaps you should turn away for now. Do not probe with your divine sense. Once I have finished the repairs, you may return. I would prefer you did not witness the process before it is complete. In truth, even if seen, it would likely be dismissed as an advanced technique, but since no one could fathom that I possess repair points, it is better to remain cautious. Hayu nodded, assuming this to be a secret art of a puppeteer. She expressed her respect and even placed a seal around Lu Chen. I began the repairs. As the restoration progressed, I felt a warmth radiating from my palms toward the winged tiger puppet. The cracks on its mysterious material began to glow, as if flames were flowing through it. Its gemstone eyes regained their clarity, while a faint radiance emanated from the 2 remaining repair points. The winged tiger puppet has been repaired. It is a second-tier low-grade combat puppet. The previously ruined puppet, with its fractured hind leg and severed wing, was enveloped in a shroud of light. As the light faded, it appeared as good as new. The puppet is repaired. What? That fast? Hayu turned back to look, her mind instantly reeling as a surge of intense shock washed over her. She gasped, covering her mouth with her hand, her eyes wide as if they might fall from their sockets. She blinked repeatedly, questioning the reality of what she had just witnessed. How much time had passed? She had only turned away for roughly 3 breaths, and it was already restored. She touched the previously broken hind leg. It was perfect, just as it had been originally, without even a trace of a crack remaining. The wings were identical, yet when it was broken, the missing material had not been recovered. How could this be possible? Her throat tightened and she looked at me with an expression of deep yearning. I smiled, offering no further explanation. Now that the necessary preparations were complete, it was time to settle a few scores. In the dead of night, the silhouette of Wu Ju appeared. He stood as imposing as a small mountain, with muscles rippling across his entire body and an aura of immense ferocity. In his right hand, he hoisted a colossal black pagoda. He was the notorious ruffian of the Qingyu market, relying on his mid-stage qi refining cultivation, and armed with the mid-grade magical artifact, the Myriad Beast Pagoda. He habitually bullied the weak and committed every evil imaginable. Ever since Sun Li died, he had been hunting me. Now that he had finally found me, my eyes burned crimson, and the emotions long pent up in my heart erupted. How long had it been? Month after month, night after night, I would wake up in a cold sweat, unable to forget the impending danger that weighed upon my soul. Now that I finally possessed the strength to face him, I did not rush to borrow the puppet of He Yu. Suppressed for so long, I desired to strike him down with my own hands. Without a word, I tapped my storage bag and retrieved an invisibility talisman. At this moment, I cared nothing for the waste of resources. My body flickered, and I vanished from the spot. Whoosh! A flying sword tore through the air, striking directly toward the crown of Wang Ju's head. How could this be a flying sword? He had yet to cultivate the sword manipulation technique, and the price of a flying sword was prohibitively expensive. Fortunately, he was, after all, at the mid-stage of qi refining, and he used the Myriad Beast Pagoda in his hand to intercept it. A metallic clang rang out as the blow was blocked, but his heart was filled with terror, for this appeared to be a second-grade flying sword. Go to hell! He glared with fury. Although the invisibility talisman prevented him from seeing me, he relied on his intuition to strike toward the ripple of spiritual energy. A shield resembling a turtle shell appeared, its spiritual power as heavy and imposing as a great mountain. This was a second-grade defensive magical artifact. And furthermore, Liang Yuan's cultivation had already reached the 4th level of qi refining. Just like him, both were at the mid-stage of qi refining. How was this fight supposed to continue? While he was in a state of panic, a flying sword pierced through the center of his brow. Pat, pat, pat. The crisp sound of footsteps echoed through the silent night. I deactivated the invisibility talisman and revealed myself, walking to the side of Wang Ju's corpse, looking down at the burly figure who had once brought me endless peril, now devoid of all breath. The sensation was truly exhilarating. I stooped down to retrieve his storage bag from the mud, along with his Myriad Beast Pagoda. Weighing them in my hand, they felt light and exquisitely crafted. It was merely a mid-grade first-rank magical artifact. Yet I was suddenly dazed, recalling how this very object, since when have I become so indifferent to low-grade mid-tier Dharma treasures? That is right. Without me even realizing it, my own strength has long since surpassed Wang Ju's flying sword. Controlling a sword while remaining hidden, possessing the strength of the middle stage of qi refining, plus having He Yu in the shadows, controlling a second-grade puppet as if it were a tiger granted wings. Even before these trump cards could be deployed, Wang Ju was already dead. Exhaling a long breath, He Yu spoke. Brother Liang, to think you could control a sword, and it is a second-grade flying sword at that, even I do not possess such a thing. At this moment, He Yu no longer needed to remain hidden. She withdrew her puppet and stepped forward, her face full of astonishment. I was taken aback, followed immediately by a surge of joy. Years ago, when I killed Sun Li and obtained this flying sword from his storage bag, I had no idea what grade it was. Only now do I realize that it is in fact a second-grade flying sword. Second grade, that is a grade meant for those in the foundation establishment stage. Not only that, you even possess a second-grade invisibility talisman. Your hidden methods are truly remarkable. He Yu clicked her tongue in admiration. Let us return. I do not wish to linger here any longer. As for these corpses, let them rot in the wilderness. These people are far from virtuous. Killing them is truly ridding the world of a scourge. I have harvested 3 storage bags and several Dharma treasures. I am eager to see what surprises lie within these spoils. Suddenly, I noticed that He Yu remained standing in place. I turned my head to see He Yu biting her lip, as if she had finally gathered all her courage. Fellow Taoist Liang, I once said that if you helped me repair my puppet, I would become your cultivation partner. Perhaps, you could come to my quarters to rest tonight? Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's hum, but I heard every word clearly. A fire ignited in my heart. After all, having once tasted the sweetness of Chu Sanyang, I was no longer an inexperienced youth, and I knew exactly what this night would entail. Seeing He Yu's bashful expression, my heart could not help but beat faster. He Yu's urgency was, in truth, linked to her own safety. Without a functioning puppet, she risked being intercepted and killed on her way back. My methods and power had thoroughly surprised her, as it was truly extraordinary, especially the speed at which I repaired the puppet, and the decisive ruthlessness I displayed earlier had made her look at me with new eyes. She was certain that in the future, I would surely achieve great things on the path of cultivation. The path of immortality is fraught with danger, and having a capable partner by one side was a matter she had been contemplating for a long time. I gave a slight nod, offering no further words, and we both returned, faces flushed. It was a sleepless night, and my Dongshan Sutra finally found its purpose. By the next day, we both woke up in the same bed. I stirred awake at a leisurely pace, a slight ache in my lower back, and as I sat up, I saw Hiyu standing with her back to me, as elegant and ethereal as ever, possessing the dignified air of a mature woman. Before I could speak, she smiled charmingly and said, "Fellow Taoist Liang, there is no need for such formality between us any longer. You may call me Xiao Yu, and I shall address you as young master." Caught off guard, I blinked, sensing her aura, and realized that Hiyu's cultivation base was even stronger than it had been yesterday. "I have achieved a breakthrough, thanks to that Dongshuan Sutra of yours." As Hiyu recalled the intimacy of the previous night, she could not help but blush. Truly, with this dual cultivation technique, even if only one party exerts their energy, both benefit. Naturally, I did not lose out either. My own cultivation had progressed significantly, as if I could break through to the 5th level at any moment. Glancing at the bed, I noticed the mark of our passion, and I rose, feeling refreshed and invigorated. I spent a moment toying with the myriad beast pagoda I had brought back, then turned to inspect the storage ring of Wangju. "Young master, this artifact appears to be designed for subduing spirit beasts. It can trap them within, and it is commonly used by the disciples of Myriad Beast Mountain. This Wangju likely has connections to Myriad Beast Mountain." As Hiyu mentioned Myriad Beast Mountain, my expression shifted slightly. Myriad Beast Mountain is one of the 6 great sects, known for basing their cultivation methods on the enslavement of spirit beasts. I was well aware of this, yet in this specific instance, the pagoda was not used for taming beasts. It had been used merely as a common magical treasure to strike people. I refined it, then examined it more closely. And only then did it dawn on me. The Myriad Beast Pagoda, in its current chi condensation stage, could only house a single spirit beast. It must have been left empty, awaiting the acquisition of a superior creature to be captured. This in turn has worked out in my favor. I continued to sift through the storage ring, pulling out an unidentified piece of spirit jade shaped like a talisman. Hiyu recognized it immediately. "I know what that is. It is a communication talisman, inscribed with the 2 characters, Qing Yu. It was likely a communication link to the master of Qing Yu Marketplace. You have reminded me of something I had not forgotten." In fact, he also leased significant number of spirit fields from the marketplace and the surrounding peripheral camps to others. Back when I was living in the outer periphery, I was forced to pay rent to Wangju. A plan formed in my mind. Why not take this opportunity to lease the spirit fields on the periphery myself? That is right. The periphery of the marketplace does not just house low-level rogue cultivators growing spirit herbs. There are also those who raise spirit beasts. I gazed at the Myriad Longevity Tower. Perhaps I could venture out and see for myself. Wangju is dead, so I am now free to travel to the outer periphery. However, at the mere thought of Zhang Huiren, my heart tightened. The scene from all those years ago, when Zhang Huiren murdered the couple Liang Kongnan, remains vivid in my memory as if it happened yesterday. In a mere heartbeat, Liang Kongnan had been slain. No, I must continue to exercise the utmost caution. Nevertheless, I must still go to monitor the multi-leaf willow tree on the periphery. I have the sparrow puppet to act as my eyes. So long as I remain vigilant and on guard against the shopkeeper, the sky above the periphery of Qingyu Marketplace was clear and blue. Passing through rows of shacks belonging to low-level rogue cultivators, I ventured further out, where I could faintly hear the cries of unknown spiritual creatures ahead. Hiyu and I traveled together, and as we looked into the distance we saw small, agile silhouettes moving upon the mountain ahead. They were fire luan birds, though I could not quite recognize them at first. Hiyu, coming from a sect with extensive knowledge, explained, "These are a type of first-grade low-tier spirit beast. They are quite inexpensive." I nodded, observing that there were shacks nearby. Inside them were rogue cultivators, low-level practitioners who must earn spirit stones, either by leasing land to grow spirit herbs or by leasing land to raise spirit beasts. Clearly, this was the latter case. Naturally, not everyone is content to struggle honestly at the lowest level, which is why chaotic occurrences arise, such as using one's own body to pay off debts or setting traps for unsuspecting immortals. I looked with curiosity at this mountain forest, which spanned roughly 100 mu. Inside, the fire luan birds displayed brilliant, vibrant plumage. Among them, a few appeared listless, as if they had fallen ill. A spirit beast falling ill, my eyes lit up instantly. My restorative ability. It is also capable of treating illnesses. Brother Yuan, have you come here intending to purchase the spirit beast? A wandering cultivator approached from a distant encampment. This man had disheveled hair and filth-stained robes, a middle-aged man with coarse, unshaven stubble, and a frame so thin that he gave the impression of being severely malnourished. I had become acquainted with him back when I resided at the camp. His name was Lin Cheng, otherwise I would not have sought him out. And I knew him to be an honest soul, unlike the dregs such as Wang Ju. "Uncle Lin," I nodded in acknowledgement. Upon hearing this, Lin Cheng's face immediately lit up with joy. As he introduced the fire luan bird, a first-grade low-tier spirit beast, explaining that in its maturity it could manifest flames, and even if not fully grown it could be purchased for its meat, which possessed high nutritional value. Uncle Lin, why do you not slaughter a few and consume them yourself? I am barely able to afford the land rent as it is. Lin Cheng offered a bitter smile. This is the reality for all low-level cultivators, where those who grow spiritual herbs cannot bear to consume them, and those who raise spirit beasts cannot bear to eat them, as the meager spirit stones earned through backbreaking labor are barely enough for cultivation. Uncle Lin, are these fire luan birds suffering from an illness? Not entirely. To be precise, it is a bloodline affliction related to their fire affinity. If they survive it, they could potentially advance in rank, for they are, after all, luan birds, possessing the bloodline of the high-grade Qing luan spirit beast, yet almost none of them manage to endure it. If I cannot sell them before they perish, I will face a heavy financial loss. I was startled, though in truth, my heart was filled with excitement. Very well, I shall purchase one of the afflicted birds. Is that truly the case? Then that is excellent. Please, choose one for yourself. Lin Cheng acted as if he might kneel before me, for usually, such afflicted beasts could not be sold and would inevitably result in a total loss, so in a sense I was doing him a great favor. He Yu, standing by my side, looked on in confusion, while a fire was kindled in my heart, for if it could be restored, it would not merely be a simple stroke of good fortune. It could even cause the fire luan bird's fire attribute to transcend its bloodline affliction and ascend in grade. The fire luan birds here looked lethargic, but in my eyes they were all walking spirit stones. Suddenly, a commotion echoed from afar. He Yu and I exchanged a glance. It was a ripple of spiritual energy. What could be happening? Let us go and investigate. We hurried over, only to find the area covered in scattered debris and gravel, with no culprit in sight. Uncle Lin, you must return at once. I fear someone is using a diversionary tactic to steal your spirit beasts. A sudden realization struck me, prompting me to issue the warning. Upon hearing this, Lin Cheng immediately sprinted back in a panic. The journey back was not long, but for a professional thief, that duration was more than sufficient. As expected, when He Yu and I arrived at the scene, 7 or 8/10 of the fire luan birds had already been stolen. Even the sick ones had been completely swept away, leaving only a meager few behind. Damn those scoundrels! Which heartless monster would steal my spirit beasts? Show yourself. I will stake my life against yours. Who could it possibly be? Lin Cheng gazed at the chaos, the ground littered only with feathers. Of the 100+ fire luan birds, only 5 remained. He roared in a blind rage, much like an incensed lion, searching frantically in every direction, yet finding nothing. He cursed incessantly, his entire body trembling. It was evident that these spirit beasts were his entire livelihood, which he had intended to sell to pay his rent. He had poured all his heart and soul into raising them, only to have the entire stock plundered in one fell swoop. One could understand his despair. How could there be such detestable people in this world? He Yu empathized with his plight, imagining if it were her own spirit beasts. Her eyes immediately reddened with indignation. Such is the nature of the lower levels of the cultivation world. All sorts of people exist, and there is no shortage of thieves who fixate solely on the fruits of others' labor. These thieves deserve death. They should be crushed the moment they are caught. I had hoped to use the restoration point to salvage the situation, but in the end only 5 remained, and of those only 1 was afflicted with the illness. Uncle Lin, please calm your anger. Give that sick bird to me. I have a way to lure the thieves out. I thought of a plan and spoke. He looked at me, astonished. Can you truly find them? Can you retrieve these fire luan birds for me? Lin Cheng was stunned. After his outburst of rage, as he calmed down, this middle-aged man actually began to weep. Hearing my words, he hurriedly seized the sick bird and brought it to me. I knew they could not have traveled far, or perhaps they were waiting for word. So long as I restored the bloodline of this bird, if we allow it to advance and those bandits learn of it, I fear they will surely return. Young master, do you truly possess a method? Hong Ok looked on with great curiosity as I gently reached out to touch the fire luan bird that Lin Xuan had just captured. Upon contact, I felt a warmth. Its feathers were lustrous and radiated a gentle heat, allowing me to perceive the essence of its fire attribute. Today, I have 3 restoration points remaining. The fire luan bird currently suffers from a fire attribute bloodline ailment, and I can consume 1 restoration point to initiate the recovery process. Not long after the restoration began, I felt my palm grow searing hot. The fire luan bird I was touching, which had previously appeared listless and spiritless, suddenly became vibrant and full of vigor, and the fire attribute within its body surged more than tenfold in an instant. Its feathers immediately shimmered with a metallic glow, with flames visibly flowing beneath the surface. Today, I have 2 restoration points remaining. The fire luan bird's bloodline ailment has been fully restored, now categorized as a low-grade Tier 2, top-tier fire attribute spirit beast. According to its description, the fire luan bird possesses a trace of the bloodline of the high-tier spirit beast, the Qing luan. Although not pure, it always has a chance to ignite its bloodline and evolve whenever it reaches a new stage of advancement, increasing its strength by more than 10 times. A top-tier fire luan bird can serve as a majestic mount, and can even assist in Foundation establishment battles. A top-tier quality, Tier 2 spirit beast. Is it truly possible for it to evolve even further in the future? Looking at the fire luan bird that was once sickly, now filled with a newfound spirit, I was struck with profound astonishment. The top-tier fire luan bird possessed great intelligence, affectionately rubbing against my hand. Though its current size is small, It will serve as a fine mount in the future. I was quite pleased with it, and immediately dripped a drop of my blood onto it, claiming it as my spirit pet. What is the meaning of this? How could the fire attribute of this fire Luan bird have become so formidable? Hongyak gasped in surprise, covering her mouth. She realized that this bird was no longer the same, as if it had undergone an evolution. Wait, could it be that it truly overcame? Lin Cheng was practically heartbroken, shattered to the core. Although I promised to help him recover the spirit beasts that were stolen from him, having just witnessed the total collapse of his livelihood, his life's work washed away, leaving him with heavy losses, he was forced to sell me the few remaining spirit beasts he had. No sooner had I paid the spirit stones than the spirit beast in my hands underwent an evolution. The sight left him reeling, filled with such regret he could have perished on the spot. Uncle Lin, listen to me. This is my plan, I said, calming Lin Cheng as I laid out my intentions. For now, we shall leave the Fire Phoenix Eagle here to undergo its evolution. If those thieves realize their mistake, they will inevitably return. Upon hearing this, a terrifying light ignited in Lin Cheng's eyes. The plan was viable. If they could truly track down the culprits, he was willing to stake his very life to ensure they would not escape again. Uncle Lin, I must take my leave now. The spirit beast has acknowledged me as its master and will not wander off. Rest assured, I will rescue the others. I did not linger and promptly departed. While Lin Cheng's plight was enough to evoke sympathy, I was no saint. The reason for my actions was calculated. As things stood, I was far from truly safe. One must not forget the manager of the Spirit Rice Shop, a cultivator at the Foundation establishment stage, who was single-mindedly hunting me down to end my life. At the thought of this, my pupils constricted. My heart raced, and considering that the Longevity Pagoda was linked to Longevity Mountain, I feared he might already have associates stationed there. This was a factor I could not afford to overlook. I could not afford complacency. I had to act. In truth, among the spoils recovered from Wang Ju's storage bag, the item that truly astonished me was that transmission talisman. I had already devised a long-term development strategy for Lin Cheng. Having now secured a certain amount of spirit stones, and possessing connections with both Suo Sanyang and He Yu, a disciple of the sect, I sought to advance further. Beyond my long-standing preparations to enter the sect, I intended to expand my influence within the marketplace. This transmission talisman could be used to contact the owner of the marketplace, allowing me to lease the stalls and spiritual fields that Wang Ju had left behind. By leveraging my ability to restore items and gain a fourfold return on my investment, I could rise rapidly like a kite catching the wind. Therefore, my decision to help Lin Cheng was also rooted in these future calculations. If I intended to develop in the marketplace and lease land in the outer perimeter, those thieves were a threat that had to be addressed. He must be eliminated before the debt becomes an issue. Let us consider Lin Cheng as bait. Young master, shall we return? I noticed He Yu seemed to have something on her mind, wishing to speak yet hesitating. Knowing she was filled with curiosity, I temporarily refrained from saying much. Once we returned to Wangxian Tower and securely closed the room doors, I patted my storage bag and produced a transmission talisman. Only then did I explain, I have made my decision. I intend to lease land on the outskirts of the marketplace. I intend to hire someone to cultivate spirit herbs for me, to raise spirit beasts, and to rent a merchant stall. Your puppet requires time to recover. Do you have any other opinions? He Yu smiled. Now that she belonged to me, she naturally offered her support, mentioning she also possessed some spirit stones. She could also lend a hand, especially since her puppet had not yet fully recovered. She was in no hurry to return. Naturally, she would follow and assist me. Very well, I shall contact the master of the marketplace immediately. I held the transmission talisman and channeled my spiritual energy into it. It immediately emitted a glow, and from within came the voice of an old man. What is it? Senior, this junior wishes to lease some land. Where are you? This junior is currently at Wangxian Tower. Understood, wait for me at the entrance. The glow on the transmission talisman faded, and there was no further sound. I took a deep breath and glanced at He Yu. We both smiled. In this way, we had taken the first step. We immediately exited the building to wait at the entrance. We did not have to wait long. Soon 2 figures appeared, holding a verdant jade talisman in their hands. It was them. I stepped forward to greet them, while simultaneously observing the other party, one old and one young. The elder wore a profound black robe. His hair was completely white, his expression stern. One could tell at a glance that he was not a man to be trifled with. The younger one was a maiden, several years younger than He Yu. Around 15 or 16 years of age, her expression calm. Her eyes were lively, with a hint of playfulness dancing between her brows. From a distance they had already spotted me. Our eyes met, and as they approached, I could discern nothing more. Hongok was slightly astonished, and whispered via sound transmission. Young master, is that the master of the marketplace? It is strange, he should have reached the Foundation establishment stage, having undergone the cleansing of marrow and bones, yet his dantian is damaged and his cultivation is completely lost, leaving behind only a strong physical body. His dantian was damaged. I was stunned, but unlike Hongok, I felt more than mere curiosity. A wave of realization stirred within me. I was not curious about what the man had endured, but to become the master of this Than Ngok marketplace. He must possess a wealth of experience. Having fought his way to the Foundation establishment stage, he is certainly no ordinary man. What matters is that I possess restoration points, which can restore many things. His damaged dantian can surely be mended as well. I immediately began to calculate. Could I take this opportunity to earn his favor? Everyone knows the weight of a favor from a marketplace master. I took a deep breath to conceal my agitation. Facing these old cultivation monsters, one cannot afford the slightest carelessness. Caution is paramount. One can build a connection, but one must not be hasty. Next came the matter of leasing the land. The marketplace master did not look down on me. Then again, looking at it from another perspective, I have now reached the fourth layer of chi refining, stepping into the ranks of the middle stage chi refining cultivators, which is far stronger than the low-level rogue cultivators in the marketplace, so there is truly nothing for him to look down upon. The old man only said his surname was Fang, and aside from that we only discussed the terms of the lease. I had accumulated several thousand spirit stones, and with Ha Ngok's help, I handed over 5,000 spirit stones as a deposit. The arrangement was very thorough. Old Master Fang, the marketplace owner, possessed a spiritual residence contract, so there could be no going back on our word. I did not fear he would play any tricks. I leased 100 mu of land, including the outer stalls for rogue cultivators, 100 mu of mountain forest for raising spirit beasts, and 100 mu of spirit fields. Naturally, I could sublease these at a higher price or hire others to manage them. After everything was settled, Old Master Fang led that young girl away, leaving me with a surge of complex emotions and a sense of bewilderment. In the blink of an eye, I had moved from being a low-level rogue cultivator on the outskirts to living in Von Tian Lao, and I had replaced Wang Su to become a land. Next came the phase of development and turning a profit. For 3 days, I remained on the outskirts of the market, tending to the plots I had leased. Naturally, I did not forget the looming threat that weighed upon my mind. My sparrow puppet stood guard, acting as eyes and ears everywhere. For if I were caught by the manager of the spirit rice shop, I would perish without even knowing how. Furthermore, I had to lay an ambush at Uncle Lin's spirit beast farm to capture those scoundrels. During this time, it was inevitable that I would cross paths with the rogue cultivator neighbors from my time at the market stalls. In truth, whenever I encountered acquaintances, I employed the art of disguise, fearing that if my identity were revealed, it would lead the spirit rice shop manager straight to me. Even so, upon discovering that I had leased so much land, these rogue cultivators were utterly astonished. Because my true identity remained concealed, they only knew me as someone who used to dwell in the outer stall district, and that I had achieved this success through my connections with sect disciples, and by entering into a dual cultivation partnership. In their eyes, this was truly a meteoric rise. Previously, we were all of the lowest social strata, where no one regarded the other. Now meeting again, even though they did not recognize my face, they'd exhausted every possible flattery. Tease Keats, truly impressive. This brother has certainly changed his fate. He must look after us more in the future. As rogue cultivators from the encampments passed by, some bowed obsequiously, while others groveled to curry favor. I was not arrogant and domineering like Wang Ju, which would have invited the soaring resentment of the neighbors in the camp. Yet I was not overly enthusiastic either, to avoid appearing easily exploited. These were all low-level rogue cultivators, a collection of all sorts of people. Maintaining a distance was necessary. I gave a slight nod, considering it a sufficient greeting. I walked along the path, eventually arriving at Lin Cheng's spirit beast farm. In reality, after Wang Ju perished, this stretch of mountain forest was also leased by me. From then on, when Lin Cheng paid his rent, it was paid into my hands. My gaze flickered. My arrival was perfectly timed, for those scoundrels had finally reached their limit, and were attempting to steal my top-grade Fire Phoenix birds. Just as I arrived at Lin Cheng's spirit beast farm, Lin Cheng, with his clothes soiled and sleeves rolled up, was hauling water, and as he turned his head to look back, the 5 Fire Phoenix birds that were kept there, including my own, had already vanished into thin air. There were thieves about. Those heaven-damned bastards, Lin Cheng roared, immediately slamming the wooden bucket in his hands to the ground. Water splashed everywhere. He was anxious and so incensed that he was on the verge of tears, opening his mouth to let out a sharp cry. In the distance, amidst a stretch of forest, 2 figures hid behind jagged rocks, a middle-aged man leading a youth. The man clutched a spirit talisman in his hand, a low-grade, rank 1 concealment talisman, masking their presence though his cultivation base was merely at the 3rd level of chi condensation. Haha, this is wonderful. The rank 2 spirit beast is finally in our grasp. Son, we are going to be rich. The middle-aged man had a gaunt, monkey-like face. He turned and chuckled, revealing that the youth was his own son. His son shared the exact same features. Truly, one's face reflects their heart. A father-son duo of thieves is a rare sight indeed. In truth, the lowest rungs of society outside the market town are exactly like this. For the sake of immortality and spirit stones, there is no shortage of those who will stop at nothing. Father, I heard that Wang Ju's life soul lamp has already extinguished. Yet someone has taken over many of his territories outside the market. This person lacks the ruthless methods of Wang Ju. I saw him from afar. He is far too young. They surely could not have detected us. Indeed, a man and a woman of that age, where would they get the spirit stones to take over such territories? How unfair. Once he begins recruiting, we shall continue to look after him. Since he possesses spirit stones, if we don't rob him, who else should we rob? The father and son exchanged a conspiratorial grin, but immediately after, a streak of fluorescent light shot toward them, causing their expressions to change drastically. Son, flee quickly. The middle-aged man turned his head, and was struck with terror, realizing it was a flying sword. Though the sequence unfolded in a flash, By the time he saw it, it was already too late. He only had time to shove his son aside. He turned back, only to feel a sharp pain in his chest as the flying sword pierced his heart. Seeing his father fall, the son felt not a shred of grief. Instead, he used his father's corpse as a shield and attempted to flee in a panic. Damnable! How did they track us down? He darted his eyes around, suddenly realizing it must be because of that rank 2 xuanhuan beast. It must have been tamed. Only a spirit beast that has acknowledged its master could track us down so easily. In reality, a rank 2 spirit beast could fetch over 1,000 spirit stones. How could these low-level rogue cultivators ever manage to tame and keep one for themselves? That is 1,000 spirit stones. Yet little did I expect that while this sum is vast, it is of little importance to me at this moment. A trap. This was a trap. Though he understood it now, he looked up and his face turned deathly pale. He saw the figures of myself and you appearing within 100 paces. As our eyes met, we had already locked onto him. The next instant, the flying sword circled back, piercing through the nape of his neck, leaving red and white gore splattered across the earth. With a heavy thud, the body collapsed. You and I quickly arrived at the scene. With 2 swift motions, I retrieved their storage bags upon arrival, discovering a hoop-shaped magical artifact within. With the master dead, the magical artifact is now ownerless. My divine sense probes inside, revealing that all the fire phoenixes have been stolen. A first-rank low-grade spirit beast ring is not of great value, yet it remains an essential tool for housing spirit beasts while traveling. Hiyu casts a glance and begins to provide an introduction. Her eyes filled with indignation as she looks at the 2 corpses lying on the ground. She stomps on them twice and declares, "These are the 2 bandits. Stealing other people's spirit stones. How truly hateful. They deserve it. They appear to be father and son." I retrieve the spirit beast ring, feeling a sense of satisfaction in my heart, and seeing the facial features of the corpses, which look as if they were cast from the same mold. I am somewhat surprised, realizing the relationship between them. How times have changed, a father and son, yet they choose to steal together. It feels satisfying. I breathe a sigh of relief. Turning back, I see Lin Cheng, who arrived at the sound of the commotion, charging over with his sleeves rolled up like a furious lion. Upon reaching the scene and looking at the ground, he instantly understands the situation. Haha, excellent. We have finally caught these 2 thieves. Damn it, stealing my spirit beasts? You choose not to walk the path of the righteous, but instead turn to thievery. Be sure to reflect on this in your next life. Brother Yuan, I am truly grateful to you. Without you, these 2 thieves would have succeeded today and stolen every single one of my spirit beasts. Lin Cheng does not forget to deliver several heavy kicks to the corpses to vent his anger, his face flushed with excitement. Naturally, he is more concerned with the whereabouts of his spirit beasts. Here, Uncle Lin, take a look. They are all right here. I open my hand holding the spirit beast ring. Lin Cheng is, after all, a breeder of spirit beasts. How could he not recognize this artifact? He immediately takes it and returns to his spirit beast breeding ground, releasing all the spirit beasts to conduct a thorough inventory, finding that not a single one is missing. Haha, this is wonderful. They have all been recovered. They are all here. Brother Yuan, it is all thanks to you. Uncle Lin, there is no need for such formalities. I retrieve my spirit beast ring and place my second-rank spirit beast inside. After exchanging a few polite words, I take my leave. I am cautious, utilizing a disguise technique whenever I encounter others. Except for Uncle Lin, I avoid staying long anywhere to remain guarded. After I depart, 2 figures are indeed drawn to the location by the commotion of my earlier actions. These 2 are none other than Old Fang, the master of the market, and his bright-eyed, white. The Thangnok market originally belonged to him. Having returned with great difficulty, he took the opportunity to inspect the surroundings and coincidentally arrived at this location. Elder Fang approached Lin Cheng to ask what had just transpired here and what was the cause behind the deaths of these 2 individuals. Lin Cheng initially remained reticent until Elder Fang revealed himself to be the master of the Thangnok market. Such a prominent figure was someone he absolutely needed to cultivate a relationship with. Consequently, he obediently recounted the entire sequence of events. What? Elder Fang had initially maintained a composed demeanor. One must note that even though his dantian was damaged, he had once been at the foundation establishment stage, possessing a formidable state of mind, and trivial matters could not stir his emotions. But upon hearing how I had lured the culprits, his spirit was violently shaken, and he could no longer remain seated. It was not because of how meticulous the plan was, but because I could cure the bloodline affliction of the fire phoenix bird, allowing it to advance into a rank 2 spirit beast. At first, he did not pay much heed, but upon reflecting further, he was struck with disbelief. If one could cure the bloodline illness of a spirit beast, would such medical prowess also be capable of healing his own damaged dantian? His granddaughter also regained her senses. They looked at each other in bewilderment, both filled with astonishment. Grandfather, isn't that the person who just leased the land from you? He truly possesses such capability. Should we seek him out right now? This matter concerns grandfather's cultivation. Regardless of the cost, we must invite him to take action. Grandfather, please say something. You are making me anxious to death. He is about to leave, don't delay. Elder Fang maintained his composure, showing no sign of haste. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed, and I had profited immensely from leasing the outer periphery